Before the world has a chance to reach you, pause for a moment and return to yourself. Each morning opens not only into a new day, but into a quiet doorway leading inward. When the early light is still soft, the room remains calm, and the phone screen is still dark, the mind has already begun to speak. It carries the worries of yesterday, the expectations of today, and the vague fears of tomorrow. Many people believe they wake up the moment they open their eyes, but in truth, they are only leaving the sleep of the night to enter another kind of sleep, the sleep of habit and unconscious reaction. Scrolling, comparing, thinking on behalf of others, chasing things that have not yet happened. Still lying in bed, yet already exhausted. So what would happen if the morning were no longer a place where you are pulled away, but a place where you return? If the first thing you say to yourself is not pressure, but remembrance. One sentence, spoken at the right moment, can shape the rhythm of the entire day. In this video, we will walk together through 6 simple truths, words you can say to yourself each morning to gently nurture inner peace. Truth 1. I am not my thoughts. I am the stillness beneath them. Morning often begins very early, even earlier than the moment you open your eyes. While the body is still lying still, the mind has already rushed awake. Thoughts appear almost immediately, without being invited. What was left unfinished yesterday? What must be faced today? Whether the future will be all right? They arrive quickly, familiar, and sound very convincing. Many people have not even placed their feet on the floor yet, and already carry a heavy feeling inside. In the teachings of the Buddha, the mind is compared to a monkey leaping from branch to branch. It does not stay still. It jumps from one memory to another expectation. From a single small thought, it pulls along an entire chain of worries. The problem is not that the mind thinks. The problem is whether we believe that we are those thoughts. When you wake up and allow thoughts to lead the way, you hand over the direction of your day to the automatic voices in your head. If the thoughts carry anxiety, the whole day becomes anxious. If the thoughts carry self-blame, you step into the day with an invisible burden. But pause for a moment and look more deeply. Who is the one noticing these thoughts? Who is the one hearing the voice inside the mind? In Buddhism, there is a very familiar image. Above is the vast open sky. Below are clouds constantly drifting by. The clouds may be thick or thin, bright or dark, but the sky is never harmed by them. Your thoughts are the same. They come and they go. And you are the space wide enough for everything to appear and dissolve. When you remember that you are not your thoughts, a small distance is created. That distance is where peace begins. You do not need to push thoughts away. You do not need to analyze or fight them. You only need to recognize that you are observing. And in that moment of observation, something shifts. Imagine a monk sitting quietly beneath a Bodhi tree. The wind may blow strongly, the leaves may tremble, but the tree remains steady. The monk does not try to stop the wind. He simply sits there, present, not carried away. Your morning can be like this too. Thoughts may arise, but you do not have to follow them. Much suffering begins very early in the day, not because something has happened, but because we completely believe the story the mind is telling. I am not good enough. I am already late. Today will be difficult. Without awareness, these stories become the only truth. But when you remember that you are the one listening, the story loses its weight. Meditation does not teach you how to control thoughts. Meditation simply invites you back to your original role, the role of the witness. When you witness, you are no longer swept away. And when you are not swept away, you gain the freedom to choose how you respond. So each morning, before the world begins to speak, allow your spirit to speak first. Sit quietly for a moment, feel the breath moving in and out, and gently remind yourself that I am not the thoughts passing through me. I am the stillness that sees them. This single reminder is enough to change the direction of the entire day. When you begin the day from stillness, you are no longer caught in the inner storm. You rise from the bed, not with a sense of struggle, but with steadiness. And from that foundation, peace is no longer something you have to search for. It has always been there, waiting for you to remember who you are. Truth 2. Everything I need for peace already exists within me. As soon as you wake up, a very familiar feeling often quietly appears inside. The feeling that something is missing, not enough time, not enough energy, not enough motivation, as if one more condition is needed before the day can truly begin. This sense of lack is not loud, but it moves quickly. Before you even notice, the mind has started listing things to do, goals to reach, flaws to fix, proof to provide. The morning turns into a checklist that is already incomplete. In the teachings of the Buddha, the root of suffering does not lie in circumstances, but in the belief that we are not enough. When we believe we are not enough, we begin to run. We run after achievements. We run after approval. We run after an imagined future version of ourselves. And the more we run, the farther we move from the peace that was already present. Morning is when the illusion of lack is strongest. You look at other people's lives and feel that you are behind. You look at your own plans and see too many empty spaces. You believe that once this task is done, once that goal is reached, once you become someone different, then peace will finally arrive. But peace is not the reward of chasing. It is the foundation we have forgotten. The Buddha taught that every being already carries within them the seed of wisdom and compassion. Think of a small seed resting quietly in the soil. From the outside, it appears ordinary, unremarkable, yet within it lies an entire forest. It does not need to search for other trees to become complete. It only needs the conditions to remember its own potential. Human beings are the same. You do not need to add anything to be whole. You need to pause and recognize what is already here. When you tell yourself that everything you need already exists within you, you are not feeding the ego. This is not the kind of fullness where you place yourself above others. This is the fullness of the soul, where you know that you do not need to become anyone else to be worthy of peace. This kind of enoughness is very quiet. It does not show off. It does not compare. It simply stands, steady and grounded. When you begin the day from this sense of enoughness, the way you move through the world changes. You are no longer someone asking for permission. You are no longer rushing to prove your worth. You do what needs to be done, without losing yourself in the process. You act from fullness, not from lack. Gently remind yourself that everything necessary for your peace is already here. When you remember this, the chasing softens. And from that softening, a quiet strength begins to spread throughout the day. You start to notice that when you are no longer led by the feeling of lack, the mind becomes lighter. In that lightness, gratitude finds space to arise, small joys become visible, and peace is able to be lived fully in this very moment. Truth 3. Nothing outside me has the power to disturb my peace. As the new day continues to unfold, you begin to step out of the quiet space of the morning and into the world of people. There are sounds, glances, emotions, reactions. Some people are joyful, some are tense. Some carry anger, anxiety, or disappointment. And very often, we do not simply notice these emotions. We unconsciously carry them inside ourselves. Many people believe that to live kindly, we must feel everything deeply. We must empathize, share, worry together, suffer together. But in Buddhist teachings, there is a very subtle distinction. Awareness is not coldness. Letting go of emotional entanglement does not mean closing the heart. On the contrary, it is the way the heart can remain open without being swept away. When you take other people's emotions into your own mind, you may believe you are understanding them. But in truth, you are allowing your peace to depend on the outside world. A harsh word can unsettle you for the entire day. A disapproving look can make you doubt yourself. A negative story can pull your mind into a very dark place, and without realizing it, you hand over control of your inner state. The Buddha taught that suffering does not come from what happens, but from how we hold what happens. Two people may face the same situation, yet only the one who carries it inside will suffer. The other sees it, understands it, and lets it go, remaining stable within. The difference is not in the circumstance, but in the level of attachment. Imagine your mind as a deep lake. On the surface, wind may blow, leaves may fall, ripples may appear. But the deeper you go, the calmer the water becomes. Other people's emotions are like winds passing across the surface. If you live only at the surface, you will be constantly disturbed. But if you learn to return to your inner depth, you will discover that stillness has always been there. Not carrying other people's emotions does not mean turning away from them. It means choosing to love without losing yourself. You can listen without absorbing. You can help without carrying the burden for them. You can be present without dissolving into their state. This is a practice that is deeply necessary in a time when everything moves too fast and too intensely. We live in a world overflowing with stimulation. News arrives endlessly. Social media amplifies emotion. Drama becomes entertainment. In this environment, keeping your peace is not avoidance. It is a conscious choice, a quiet form of resistance against chaos. Calmness becomes an act of courage. When you choose to protect your peace, you are not doing so out of selfishness. You do it because you understand that only when your own mind is steady can you offer steadiness to others. A person in turmoil cannot give calm. A person swept away by emotion cannot guide anyone back to stillness. Each morning, remind yourself that nothing outside has the right to enter your inner space unless you allow it. Other people's words are not absolute truth. Their emotions are not your responsibility. Circumstances do not determine your inner state. You always have the freedom to choose how you respond. When a situation arises, try to pause before reacting. Take one deep breath. Feel your feet touching the ground. Recognize that you are safe within yourself. From that place of stillness, you can act with clarity rather than impulse. Peace is not a reward that comes after the world becomes calm. It is the foundation that allows you to walk through a turbulent world without losing your direction. When you maintain your inner quiet, you are not only protecting yourself, you are adding a small measure of stillness to this life. In a noisy world, peace becomes a powerful message. In an age of constant agitation, calmness is an awakening act. And each time you remember that nothing outside has the power to disturb your mind, you return to the original strength that the Buddha pointed to long ago. Truth 4. Today, I choose presence over pressure. After learning not to identify with your thoughts and not to carry the emotions of others, another challenge appears very clearly each morning. That challenge is pressure. Pressure does not need anyone to create it. It arises from within the mind itself. The moment the eyes open, many people already feel as if they are being chased. Things to do, messages to answer, responsibilities waiting. Still inside the bedroom, yet the mind has already run far ahead. In modern life, pressure is often seen as normal. People believe that if they do not feel pressured, they are falling behind. If they are not busy, they are not trying hard enough. But through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, pressure is largely an illusion. It is a story the mind creates to produce urgency, even when urgency is not truly required. Pressure says that everything must happen immediately, that you must be faster, more productive, better. It turns the morning from a gentle beginning into a race from the very first moment. And when you begin the day already being pulled in this way, it becomes very difficult to find steadiness later on. The Buddha taught that the only place where life truly happens is the present moment. Not in the to-do list, not in plans for the future, not in regret about the past, but here, in the breath moving in and out, in the feet touching the ground, in the moment you are actually present. Presence is not a technique. Presence is the natural home of the mind. When you return to presence, pressure begins to lose its grip. Not because responsibilities disappear, but because they no longer occupy your entire inner space. You still work. You still care for your life, but you do not lose yourself in the process. Morning is the best place to anchor the mind back into the present. The way you begin the morning becomes the rhythm of the entire day. If the morning is guided by rushing, the whole day will rush. If the morning begins with presence, the day carries a steady place to return to. Many people mistake presence for slowness. But in truth, presence means doing each thing with full attention. When you do only one thing at a time, the mind is not divided. When the mind is not divided, you do not feel exhausted even while completing what needs to be done. Pressure convinces you that you can only rest after everything is finished. Presence reminds you that even while doing, you can already be at ease. A sip of water taken with awareness, a breath noticed in the middle of work, a moment of looking out the window and feeling the light. These are very small things, yet they are enough to bring you home. Each morning, before allowing your schedule to lead you, pause and remind yourself that today, you choose presence over pressure. You do not need to say it out loud. You do not need to force it. Just remember that you are not a machine created to complete lists. You are a human being who is alive. When you choose presence, the sense of urgency begins to soften. The tasks remain, but they no longer weigh so heavily on the mind. You begin to move with a more natural rhythm, not because you are doing less, but because you are no longer being pulled by the fear of falling behind. Then a gentle question arises within you, not to accuse, but to awaken. Am I truly living my life, or am I only checking off tasks? The question does not need an immediate answer. Simply carrying it with you through the day will quietly guide you back to what matters. Presence does not make life easier on the outside, but it makes life more real. And when you live each moment honestly, peace is no longer distant. It becomes a quiet companion, walking with you through the small, ordinary moments of an ordinary day. Truth 5. I let go so life can flow. Each morning, before the day truly begins, there are often many things already being held tightly inside us. Plans that must unfold exactly as expected. Conversations that must go the way we want. Outcomes that must be achieved for the mind to feel at ease. This tight holding happens quietly, yet it creates a deep inner tension. The body has barely moved, but the mind is already tired. In the teachings of the Buddha, attachment is seen as a kind of invisible prison. It has no bars, yet it takes away our freedom. When we say that something must happen this way, or that something else must not change, we bind ourselves to an outcome. And whenever life does not move according to our expectations, suffering immediately arises. Letting go is not giving up. This is something very easily misunderstood. Many people fear letting go because they believe it means no longer caring, abandoning responsibility, or losing direction. But in Buddhist understanding, letting go does not mean turning away from life. It simply means no longer forcing life to take the shape we have imagined in advance. When you let go, you do not abandon your dreams. You release the rigid control over how those dreams must arrive. When you let go, you do not become passive. You simply stop resisting the natural flow of what is unfolding. Letting go does not make you weaker. It makes you softer. And within that softness, there is a very deep strength. The Buddha often spoke of the middle way, not giving up and not clinging, not chasing desire and not punishing oneself. Letting go rests in the space between these two extremes. It is the state of knowing clearly what you are doing without allowing the result to control your mind. Look at the image of bamboo. When strong winds arise, bamboo does not stand rigid like other trees. It bends with the wind. Because of this, after the storm passes, the bamboo is still there, not broken, not fallen. Bamboo does not fight the wind, yet it does not disappear. It chooses flexibility in order to remain standing. Human beings can learn this way too. When you hold tightly to everything, every change becomes a threat. Every unwanted outcome brings pain. But when you allow things to move, life begins to feel less like an enemy. Things come and go. Relationships change. Plans are adjusted, and you remain there, not swept away. Morning is a very suitable time to practice letting go. Before the day begins, notice what you are trying to control. It may be an appointment, a response, a result, an image of yourself. There is no need to push these things away. Simply see them and gently allow them to soften. When you say to yourself that you are letting go so life can flow, you are not giving power to randomness. You are giving space to a deeper wisdom that you cannot always see. Some paths only appear when you stop forcing. Some answers only arrive when you stop searching through tension. True liberation does not come from everything going your way. It comes from the ability to remain at ease even when things do not. When you can smile in uncertainty, when you are no longer frightened by change, you come very close to inner freedom. Letting go allows the current of life to move more freely. Like the breath, when you do not try to hold it, or force it faster or slower, it naturally finds a harmonious rhythm. Life is the same. When it is not overly controlled, it often leads you where you need to go, even if it is not always where you expected. So each morning, give yourself some space. Space to not know everything in advance. Space to not strain to become someone. In that space, life begins to move naturally. And within that movement, you realize that you are still whole, still complete, and much lighter than when you were holding so tightly. When you let go, life does not become chaotic. It becomes gentle. And in that gentleness, a peaceful flow begins to carry you through the day without resistance, without strain, simply with trust and the willingness to keep walking forward. Truth 6. I begin this day gently. There is a very subtle form of violence that many people do not recognize. It does not come from the outside world, but from the way we treat ourselves each morning. As soon as we wake up, we push ourselves to be faster. We blame ourselves for not being good enough. We force ourselves to be strong, to be positive, to be ready immediately. The morning has barely opened, yet the mind is already stretched tight. This pushing is often disguised as reasonable advice. Try harder. Be more disciplined. Push beyond yourself. But if we look more deeply, we can see behind it a lack of patience with ourselves. A quiet belief that if we do not strain, we will fall behind. And it is this belief that moves peace farther away. In Buddhist understanding, peace does not grow in tension. It grows in gentleness. Just as a young sprout cannot be pulled to grow faster, the mind cannot be forced into calm. The more we push, the more the mind contracts. The more we blame ourselves, the harder it becomes for peace to arise. Gentleness is not weakness. Gentleness is the wisdom that knows everything needs time and space to unfold. When you allow yourself to begin the day gently, you are not avoiding life. You are choosing a different foundation from which to enter life. A foundation based not on judgment, but on acceptance. Not on tension, but on trust in your own natural rhythm. Each morning is not a test of how strong you are. It is a beginning, a fresh page, not yet marked by the mistakes or successes of yesterday. When you remember this, you no longer need to prove anything. You only need to be present. Being gentle with the morning also means being gentle with the emotions that arise at the start of the day. If you feel tired, allow yourself to be tired. If you feel slow, allow yourself to be slow. There's no need to fix anything immediately. No need to force change. Simply notice and stay with what is present. That staying creates the space in which peace can appear. Within gentleness, the 5 truths you have reminded yourself of earlier come together as a single flow. You do not identify with thoughts. You do not believe the feeling of lack. You do not carry other people's emotions into your mind. You do not let pressure lead the way. You do not cling to what has not yet happened. All of this becomes possible only when you stop treating yourself as something that must be pushed. So each morning, give yourself a very simple moment. It may be when you first open your eyes. It may be when your feet touch the floor. Gently say to yourself that you allow this day to unfold gently. There is no need to expect anything special. No need to demand that you change immediately. When you begin the day with gentleness, you are planting a very deep seed, the seed of trust. Trust that you can move through this day without straining. Trust that peace does not come from doing everything right, but from how you stay with yourself. And from that gentleness, a new day begins, not as a test, but as an invitation to live. As the morning moves slowly, like a gentle breath, allow these 6 reminders to settle within you one more time. There is no need to hurry, no need to memorize them with the mind. Simply let them be felt with the heart. You are not the thoughts that come and go. You are the stillness that sees them. Everything necessary for peace already exists within you. Nothing is missing. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing outside has the right to enter your inner space unless you allow it. Today, you can choose presence over pressure, and when needed, you can loosen your grip so life may flow in its natural rhythm. All of this is held within one very gentle choice: to begin the day softly. Peace is not something you must achieve after doing everything right. It is not the reward of strained effort. Peace is something remembered each morning when you return to yourself, when you remember who you are. The outside world may remain noisy, but inside you there is a place to rest. If you have listened this far, give yourself a moment to pause. Do not think further. Do not judge. Simply stay. And if it feels right, you may leave a reminder you choose for this morning. Not to prove anything, just to remind yourself that you were present. That presence is already enough.